And I think you just jump in and just try something. Just try. And who cares? If you're going to fail, who cares if you fail? I don't understand. That's the thing I don't understand. It's just, you just get up and you do it again. I have amnesia the second I fail. The second I fail, I'm like, the next day I wake up, I'm like, all right, let's do it again. You know?
That's an amazing mindset. So we share something in common already. We both grew up wanting to be famous rappers.
Yeah.
Did
you?
Yeah.
No.
That was like my passion, like poetry, spoken word, writing lyrics. Like all I listened to was hip hop and rap growing up. Like if you asked me at 16 years old what I wanted to be, that's what I wanted to be. And it's so interesting because today I feel I use the same skills that I wanted to use then, but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
I still write. I write books instead of records. I teach meditation, which includes music, it includes cadence, it includes rhyme often, but not in the way that a rapper would.
Yeah.
And I'm using spoken word constantly to get messages out into the world, but in a different way. And so I love what you just said about that idea of how you actually may succeed, but in a way completely different to what you originally dreamed of.
I hope it goes full circle for you. I need to hear the Jay Shetty rap tape. What was your rap name?
Oh God, I don't know if I need to go that far.
Okay,
it was embarrassing, but I'll tell you later.
Okay,
I'll tell you
later.
privately. Yeah,
Tell me later.
I'll tell you privately.
Is Jay Shetty your real name?
Yes.
It's that's the perfect rap.
Is
name.
it?
Yeah, Jay Shetty sounds like a fire rapper.
Really?
Yeah, from like
All right.
East London.
Okay, I'm from North London, so not far.
All right.
Yeah, not far. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it. But no, I really appreciate what you're saying there. And I think that amnesia to failure, wow, like I love that idea of having amnesia with failure. Can you give me a time, was that always the case, or was there a failure that like did kind of pierce that veil? It never has. I can see from your face.
No, I remember when I was gonna quit music one time right before I made it, my mentor passed away. He took his own life, and I was really young. It was one of my best friends, and I'm probably like 18. And I remember like sitting in my bed, and I was like crying. I like didn't understand. It was one of the first times that somebody who wasn't supposed to die died. I've had I've lost my grandmother and lost my grandfather, but it was like the first time in my life where like someone that like I really knew and really touched me, and I talked to them the day before they died. And it's like, I remember like that hitting me like so hard in a way that I didn't know was even possible. Like, I'd been sad. But I remember sitting there in bed, and I was just like, I'm just gonna quit. I was like, I gotta quit making music. And then in that very same moment, like my head flipped, and I was just like, no, you can't. You gotta like take on what this dude started. Because he was also a musician, and he didn't get he was well known, and he was a hero to me, but he didn't get where I think he deserved to. And I remember being like, I gotta do this. Like, I gotta, like, he would want me to be doing this. And that was like the only time where it wasn't even failure. It was like the only time where I like really questioned things. But don't get me wrong. Every time I do something good in life, I'm questioning. But it's like a different feeling. I don't know if you have this, but I'll have a number one song. It's the biggest song in the whole world. And I'll like look in the mirror, and I'll be like, oh, that's the last one. Like, definitely not going to have another number one song again. Not saying I'm like scared of the failure. I'm just like, oh, that's just like the last one. That's what I did. Or something really good will happen in my life, and I'm like, oh, I'll never recreate that again. But in the same breath, I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm like, let's keep rolling, And I've tried to do this thing lately, in the last like 5 or 10 years, where I really like take in my achievements. Because for a while, I never thought of them. I would just keep going. Like, when it was time, they'd be like, oh, your song's number one. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. What are we doing next week? And I figured out like, it's okay to do that. It's okay to like take a breath and be like, yo, we just did this shit. Like, this is tight. Like, we did this. This is great. And yeah, I'm trying to do that more. And failure, like, no, I've never had one of those times, because whenever I do fail, I'll sit and obviously, like, I'll sit there and I'll be like, this didn't work how I wanted it to. But so many times have been the opposite, where I was like, this will never work. And then it's big. So it's like, I feel like it always evens out.
Yeah.
And you only have one other choice. It's like, your only choice is just to keep going. What are you supposed to do? Just be like, oh, it didn't work. No, get up and you do it again.
Yeah, I've got so many questions. I want to dive into so much
Okay.
that you said. So, rewinding with your mentor, how did you first? And I'm so sorry to hear. Thank you for sharing with us. You know, such a challenging event. And I lost my mentor 4 years ago. He passed away from stage 4 brain cancer during the pandemic. So I couldn't go back to see him because I couldn't take a flight, and so I couldn't be at his funeral. So you know, it was super rough for me. It was more recent, but how did you meet your mentor and how did you form a bond? I think a lot of successful people have mentors, they have guides, they have teachers, they have coaches. But then sometimes when you're listening to a conversation, you're like this, you're like, I want someone to be my mentor, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to find them. Like, what does that mean? Like, how did you connect?
I've had so many mentors. I have mentors every day. I'm a mentor to people, but sometimes my mentees are my mentor. Like, you always got to be open to just listening and learning. Every day I learn something. I was in the studio yesterday with a guy who was one of my mentees. Like, the way I got to tell you that story later. That's insane. I'll go to that. I'll tell that after. First one is, I met my mentor. This is when he was like my second or third mentor. I met a lot of my really important mentors in my life when I was about 13. I was a musician. I was traveling for music at the time. I had gotten like some buzz, and